Hey, those of you who are here early, I'll show here, let me spotlight. I got to visit, remember when we did the Major Oak and Sherwood Forest for Europe? I'm going to switch my camera real quick. I got to go visit Major Oak in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. Whoa.
oh.
Yeah, it was really good that we practiced because it's massive. And so just standing in the field sketching this was like really intimidating, but it was so fun. And so like, here's a 6 foot tall person would
Mhm.
it was like, oh, it's super fun. And yeah, you can't go up to him anymore or her. I don't know what to call it, but there was lots of people there visiting, which was really, really neat to have that community of people who came from around the world just to see this epic tree.
Mhm.
So that was super fun. So, well, let's see. Great. So everybody who's here, I'm going to thank you for those of you who know the drill. Drop into the chat where you're dialing in from. It's always super fun to see where everyone is. 21 degrees and light snow. Elizabeth, where are you? Definitely not Arizona. So we've got New Hampshire, sunny and windy in Los Angeles. Windy, interesting. Loveland, Colorado. Hi, Jackie. Let's see. Ontario, -6 Celsius. Woohoo. Alabama is nice and rainy. Wonderful. Great to see. Tucson. Hi, Sherry. And Napa, 20 degrees in Wisconsin. You know, Tennessee, 38 degrees. I was surprised. I was in Birmingham, Alabama last week and was really surprised at how cold it got. Of course, I think it's higher up in latitude. So, all right. Well, it's
Roseanne, in Tennessee, we're about 20 degrees below normal. It should be in the 60s. And if we get to the 40s today, we're going to be doing well.
Oh, wow. Wow. Isn't that interesting? So we learn a lot. So, all right, everybody, welcome. I'm starting right off because I always never give myself enough time for these. This is a challenging project and I've absolutely loved it. And it was really fun to see, you know, when I forced myself to do these 8 trees in 2 hours, that's 15 minutes a tree. I mean, I hope you've experienced the same thing. I feel really confident to go out like I did and sketch Major Oak in you know, took me about 30 minutes to do the giant one, but really great skills building. So hope you're enjoying these as much as I am. So welcome if you've just joined us. I am Roseanne Hanson, and if this is your first time, this is number 5 and around the world in 80 trees. And this is Asia, but Asia, I'm going to have to break it up into 3 sections because it's so huge. So this will just be the first part of Asia. And we're going to jump right in with around the world in 80 trees and tree-like plants. So I'm Roseanne Hanson. If this is your first time, I run my own Field Arts Institute. I'm also one of the founders of the Wild Wonder Foundation and Wild Wonder Conference. And I think I've met a lot of you there. So hope to see you on some of those programs as well. Okay. Well, as I said, Asia's big. So we are going to cover Asia Minor and the Western part of Asia this time. So that's what we're going to focus in on. And I also pulled in a little bit of back to the Saudi Peninsula as well, because botanically, a whole bunch of the Asia Minor shares botanical relationships well into the deserts. And we're going to find out why or how. coming up. So our first tree is up in Asia Minor, Turkey. And surprise, one of our most beloved foods, the pistachio. I'm going to, now on my screen, my talking head is covering up the printing. Can you guys see the printing okay? The wording, the words?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was worried that it might cover it up. It's just for me then. So pistachio is a Pistacia vera, and it's not a huge tree. Whoops, someone raised their hand. I'm not able to just talk verbally if you have a question. I'm not able to get to those controls.
Okay, I wasn't finding it, and now I've got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I forgot to mention, when I'm running these, don't raise your hand, don't use the chat. Just go ahead and turn on your sound and ask me verbally, please. It's much easier. Just don't forget to turn off your sound when you are done so that we don't interrupt the program. So it's not a huge tree, up to 33 feet tall, 10 meters. It is deciduous with pinnate leaves. They're about 4 to 8 inches long, and is dioecious, so meaning male and female trees. We've been learning about that. And not surprisingly, is a highly specialized desert tree, very heat tolerant, as well as tolerating saline soils, and can take temperatures from 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 118 or thereabouts. So native to Turkey, Iran, Syria, and across southern Russia, Afghanistan, the Caucasus. And it's been cultivated a very long time. And interestingly, California now comprises pretty much the majority of global pistachio production, along with Turkey, New Mexico, and Arizona. So the dry desert areas. So let's look at, let's start drawing, because as usual, it's like, oh, we only have a short amount of time. I need to redo my camera, because I did zoom out a little bit to show you the major oak. So let's get in here. Sorry if it's making some seasick, right? Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. You get nice close up there. So I think what, as always, I want to, so I to save time, I wrote my species, common name and genus and species already. And as always, I want to start with the shape of the tree, and then I just love those colors of the young fruits, nuts. So I'm going to do shape of the tree here, and then zero in on getting the growing fruit, and then the ripe one. I think that would be fun because there's some really pretty colors. So let's get our base in here, just some sand. How tall am I going to go? I'm going to go up to about here. So I want to get that relationship going, and we're going to go out about there. And this is looks like a more gone wild pistachio, because when you look at the ones that are cultivated, they're all carefully groomed. But I kind of wanted to go with this really cool kind of wild guy. And as always, I'm just capturing here. I can't really get, spend hours on these. I'm doing this very faintly at first. So as you get more confidence, you'll be able to go more quickly. But I'm recommend going fairly faint at first until you make sure your shapes and proportions are right. And then we'll ink in. So I'll ink in the base here. Looks like got a bit of a trunk, and then I'll get this one going. I'm going to leave plenty of room for these pretty leaf clusters, and I'm not going to try to draw individual leaves. Notice some of these are kind of wand-like, in their configuration. This is kind of one big kind of leafy thing going here. You see how I'm just sort of giving myself a roadmap for the color. It's got some openness in the canopy here too. And rather than draw all these branches, I'm going to leave it open so that when I do add the color, I get more of the feeling of leaves in front of branches like here. So that's fairly faint still. Once I get the color in, I'll probably strengthen some of the branches, but not a lot. Didn't quite get that dip there, and there's another branch going in here. So that's good. I'm going to leave that for now because I want to put in, let's do a cluster of the fruits here. Get some in the foreground. There's sort of, some of them are that oval shape already. We're looking at them kind of straight on here. I'm not going to try to do a ton of them, but I want to have enough that I can have fun with that color. Really interesting plant, isn't it? Let's get one of the pinnate leaves in there. We're not going to be able to do all of them, but they're on, looks like they're paired opposite. Keep an eye on the time there. All right, I'm going to keep this small here. So I don't take over my whole. Now, I think most of you know I use this accordion folded sheet to do mine. You might have a completely different way of doing it, and much more room than I've given myself. I do that kind of because I want to edit myself. Let's do now we can say when it's ripe. Let's do the really pretty shell here that we all know and love. Maybe not everyone, I don't know. And then we'll place the nut. And that's showing, it's kind of fun to show that skin, isn't it? So I better pause here and start getting a little bit of color in here. Get my colors warmed up here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the colors. A little bit. And I still have not gotten my new light replacement. I don't have a proper desk light, so that's why the window is open behind me. Trying to get a little bit more light. So I apologize for the flares, and hopefully we can get some good color here. Let's start with filling in some of our green, nice bright green leaves. So use my cyan, a little bit of my dirty yellow. And be sure, let's not forget drop in that nice pistachio green. But I want to remember here, this is a fairly open canopy here. And it's not a solid. You can see the leaflets. So I want to keep that feeling, which is why I'm dotting rather than filling it in entirely. Super fun. Some clusters there. Okay, watching the time. It always ends up feeling like a race, doesn't it? I'm going to drop in some of the bright green for our pistachio green, but then the rest is going to be that pretty brown. I'm using a slightly different paper than my journal paper. This is 140 pound and much more textured. So I have a little bit less experience with this one. Let's get some of that pink in there. Let's see, do I need any more green? Not at this point. I'll go back in and enhance this after it's dry with some darker greens. But that lovely pink, but it's also kind of got some pale yellow in there. And it's not bright yellow. So I'm going to put a little bit of tiny smidge of burnt sienna in this bright cyan yellow to turn it into kind of a grass yellow. And so I might drop in a little bit, see how some of them are. Just a little. And then the shell, I can also tinge a little bit. That's a little too yellow, but I'll brown it up a little, maybe with a tiny bit of burnt sienna. So it'll dry a little bit lighter. We'll see how I did with that color. It's a difficult color. Add a shadow later, but let's get some of that fun pinky color. And I'm going to just do a wash of the pinks right now, and then we'll come in later and drop in slightly different darks. And you don't want this all to be monotone, but it's okay right now. This is just the first pass. You know, I could go in, see how some of them are just while it's still damp. Oh, it's not quite even, it's drying up. It's very dry in Arizona, so I'm not even getting the spread I would normally get. The page is already drying. So we'll come back. As always, this is my first pass. This is fun. So if I want to throw in some brown, this is always a fun trick when you're you've got your primary colors. So I've got yellow, magenta. If I throw in some of the blue and a little more magenta, I can get all of them together will give me a nice brown. There we go. So I could use that to start my tree branches. Just a little. I'm not going to do all of them the same color though. Because I'm going to want to get some darks and shadow, and that gets me started. Okay, I'm going to wait for now. Oh, when I throw in, I should have, when I had that sandy color, I should have, see how textured the paper is? If I use what's called a dry brush, very little water, I get that nice textury thing going to make a sandy. Okay, let's move on though, because, I want to go back. No, while I have the dark, I'm gonna start laying down this dark. It needs more russet, but we'll come back. So russet, I could even add with the burnt sienna. Wow. This is my speed painting, but that's a good start. Notice I'm not filling it in 100%. I want to go back. I'll be adding darks to make it look roundy and such. So that's a great start on our pistachio, but we need to keep moving. I see there's some chats. I'm not able to look at those. So if you have a question, just ask them out loud. Great. So where are we going next? What's our next tree in our 8 trees today? Well, we're going to stay in the Levant, and this time we're heading to Israel, Lebanon area. And this is a beautiful plant. I'm excited to draw this one. This is the Syrian juniper. It is native to the Eastern Mediterranean, so completely here in this region, the Levant. It's the tallest juniper in the juniper family. So it is a juniperus, Drupaceae. And so they get up to 40 meters tall, 130 feet, and big, like 1 to 2 meter diameter trunk. And the leaves are needle-like leaves, and they go in whorls of 3 around the twigs. And these are usually dioecious plants. And they're the largest seed cones of any of the junipers. So they're big, like an inch. And the scales become fused in a whorl, and that the 3 apical scales, which I think we're looking at right there, are part of them. They fuse together into a single nut-like shell and then have the seeds under that. So it is among the oldest trees left in Israel. Interestingly, that whole area has been massively impacted by thousands and thousands of years of human use. It was pretty much completely deforested, only 2% of trees left in Israel. And over the past 120 years, they've planted more than 250 million trees to try to restore its original forests. And I think they are planting a lot of non-natives, but some junipers as well. It's a very hardy desert plant. So let's draw this fun one. Okay. Here we go. Oh, you can see I already borked on the page here. So, and I forgot to add I'm a little out of practice, aren't I? I would want to go back and, as we always try to do, I want to show the scale. So I would have done my, how tall is this tree? Oops, see, that was wet there. And if I'm recalling, this is a fairly, like up to 30 meters, but this was a small one. So let's call this one, like, this looked like a 15 meter. We're going to make an estimate here. And then we'll be sure to put our scale of, we know what pistachio nuts are, but if you're illustrating, you want to put in there, if that's 15 meters, we'll use centimeters. So they're what, about 1.5 centimeters? Okay, so forgot that. We always want to do that. And we want to add some notes, which I'll do here. So Syrian juniper. I'm going to alternate what side I put my tree sketch on, just because I can. And I like the variety. But let's sketch this shape here. It's a very pyramidal shape. Again, I'm making it pretty light, because that way when I want to change it, I can. It's a little fatter. So we want to, it's going to have this great kind of uneven outline, little peaky top. And it's a beautiful shape, isn't it? And then we've got, it's when we do the paint, we're going to want to try to get that feeling of some of the branches and clusters that create the shape, but not a lot. We want to focus on, it's really got, it goes all the way to the ground. We'll get this like shadow and dark under there. But it looks to me like it's even got some branches going all the way to the ground. And there is some open, we'll try to leave some openness in that too. So it's not a solid thing. But that's just my guideline there. And then maybe zoom in on those leaves too. So could do just do a leaf whorl. Going to go way in. So we get that. Try to get that, see how that is. You've got a stem coming like so, but a very sharp needle like leaf there, and then see the second one and the third one, almost like a propeller. So that second one is in the background. And then that third one this is the stem. So and some of them appear quite long. I think I might have gotten this one a tiny bit long. But that captures kind of the whorls, and it looks like the next set would potentially be offset to that. So if I were to draw the next one, it might go in a completely different direction. Sort of having to estimate here what those would look like. It looks like at the tip, you've got a little cluster of new ones coming up, getting ready to kind of open. So this would be, did it say how long the leaves were? Sorry, quick look over it. I did not write that down. The leaves look leaf-like, the needles look like, I would say, about 1 to 2 centimeters. And then if I hopefully left enough room for, I'll put this really cool seed pod behind the needle. Wow, this is where I wish I had a lot more time, because that shape is gorgeous. Let's see. Boy, you'll want to take some time on this one. I didn't quite get it onto my page, barely. I'm going fast, so we want to get kind of this one oval here, one oval. It's not quite an oval. It sort of makes a diamond shape here. And then this kind of comes up. Yeah, we want to come back and revisit this one. This is super cool. I'm not sure what that structure is at the bottom. I wasn't able to find any good papers on that. So a little comes up. So we have, this is the seed cone. It's about an inch. So we will call that, 2 points, just call it 2.5 millimeters, since I started with that. Centimeters, 2.5 centimeters wide. And boy, that beautiful texture and everything. Wow, this is going to be fun. Definitely you want to get that shape. Definitely got that round thing going. Very cool. So this is the seed cone. And it is the largest juniper cone. And I'm going to start putting some color on these as well. Didn't quite really get all the spikiness of the leaves. I probably want to go back and add some, lighter, kind of how really spiky it is, but want to build that out.
Roxanne, good morning.
Yeah.
Can you describe what the needles are like?
So they're imagine like pine needles, very much so. So unusual for our junipers here tend to be, they have more like scales. So they're very spiky, and
they're stiff?
yeah,
They
I would say I've never met one in person, but I imagine it's quite spiky, but like a pine, like your pines. That would be my estimate. Anyone met one in person? Anyone from the Levant right now?
That's good. Thank you.
I'm wanting to get kind of that bright green growth here. I'm gonna wait. Let's see. I guess I'll do this one. I've got some layering going that it's going to be more of a challenge. But it looks like it's bright green down the whole way, but I want to make sure I kind of leave some of those highlights too. Okay, and now let's go in and I'm using the lighter color, and then I'm going to go in with a darker color. And now I'm taking advantage of the shape of this brush. Try to remember to leave some open space. Definitely, this is the lighter color, and then we're going to want to fill in with the dark. Now, as we get down, of course, it's down here, it's much more dense, so I can fill in more. And then if I darken my green here, we can start adding more depth. And it's pretty soupy down there. You can see that's because I want this to be nice and dark. And then up here, I remember when I try to add or leave some of the open. Someone's mic is still on, so if you can all check your sound, please. Going to leave that to dry for the moment. Come back. Let's get this cool. I'm going to wet this first. Yeah, the water's a little dirty, but that's okay because this is going to be that reddish color. I'm wiping my palette right now. So that's a lot of, I'm gonna try with the burnt sienna here. I like that. Might put a tiny bit of the magenta in there. Let's see how that does. You see how that's spreading out nicely. So it's, I don't have really hard edges. It's drying out quickly though. But I wanted to try to retain some of that gray white. To try to approximate that edge right there. Oh, that was hard. I didn't quite get it. See these hard edges or lips, I should say, of the fused scales. I should probably let this dry and come back. Doesn't quite get it. I want to get like some, it's not solid in there. And one of the things we'll want to do is come back and get the shape by literally using more shadow. Like even though we're not seeing it on the photo, I would darken the edges on purpose just to try to get more of that roundy shape. Because this image that we're looking at is a flash image. So I want to come back later after that's dried and enhance it with probably some textured pen and stuff, but I'm going to kind of lay off right now and let that dry and revisit it. I can come in here with a very dark, I'm going to go like super dark green. What I'm doing is my dirty yellow and the really, really dark indanthrone blue. It's almost, let's just like take it all the way down and try to give it the shape underneath. And then you can do what's called edge pulling to kind of create that shadow underneath. And see how that, we'll see how that looks when it dries. It should be pretty cool. Trying to give it the more of that texture that it has. So it might take a few passes of your darks, because that's going to blend in, and we'll just keep coming back and revisiting that. Don't want to overdo it though. But again, we wanted to put our height. So this is a 40 meter. Tree, really substantial, isn't it? Kind of hard to get that scope, but see, we can come back in and add texture, and we can add detail with the pen. It'll work really well later. Whoops, that didn't. And I just put my hand in that. So yeah, we'll come back and enhance that after I wipe my hand off. But it's time to move on, because we should be on our third plant and I'm lagging. So let's go back. Let's see. There we go. Let me see if I can get rid of this control. Actually, I'm gonna, let's see, trying to clear the controls. So someone used the chat, which threw the controls up in front of me. So hopefully that will go away in a minute. So what's our next step for our third tree? It's going to be same region and another really iconic tree, beautiful tree. Look at that shape. Any guesses? So this is the Lebanon cedar, a super famous, very, very highly revered plant in the Middle East for pretty much all cultures going back thousands of years. It's on the Lebanese flag, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest works of our literature. The Sumerian hero Gilgamesh and his companion traveled to the legendary cedar forest to kill its guardian and cut down its trees. And that was thought to have taken place perhaps in what is now Lebanon. So really interesting. I'd love to dig deeper into that, because it's definitely a parable we need to pay attention to. Already they were talking about destroying our forests. So interesting, isn't it? So look at that beautiful shape, massive with horizontal spreading branches. I just think this is one of the most beautiful trees, and it's called the trunk. So generally they call it a monopodial trunk, meaning it tends to have a single massive trunk that then branches, and very broad diameter, 2.5 meters, 8 feet up to or more than. So and then look at that beautiful cone. So I want to get this really beautiful shape, and we'll draw the cone and see how that works. So let's see. Yeah, there we are. So you can see how that's drawing a little better, a little paler, so we can go back in. I'm liking that. So it takes a number of passes to get our everything done. Whoops, let's get this over. Let's leave a little bit of our info up while we start. I'm going to start that shape. How's that for you guys? I'll zoom in on that shape in a minute, but let's do our cedar now. I better mark my edges first. So let's take it all the way out to here, and then maybe I can tuck the cone. I'm going to give myself a place marker. I'll tuck the cone there. Okay, so cedars, I want to make sure I get nice wide. Yep. Can go there, and that canopy, I want to make sure. I'm just sort of using, remember, like my just tiny little spazzy dots here. Okay, and then that trunk. Okay. Very wide. Okay. See, I'm just barely squidging just until I make sure I'm liking my proportions and I haven't completely messed it up. And then immediately branches into these. It's a little bit wide, isn't it? So I'm going to pull it in a little. And you can do that. Don't sweat it too much if you have to change your initial sketches. So I want to get this, I'm going to go ahead and do these kind of horizontal lines to remind me that the shape here. And that really will help as I use the watercolor to give me the shape of this tree. And it's a really popular ornamental. Remember, we're doing 15-minute sketches max, including beginning color. So I could spend hours, on each tree. It's wonderful. But what's fun is to try to capture the essence in as short a time as possible. Then you'll get better at zeroing in on what you need to zero in on. So like this trunk comes up and then it does a little curvy thing, goes up. And then this one keeps going. And I don't want to continue drawing it because you don't want to have one big massive thing going up here. You need to break it up so that it's clear that there's these branches that go up, but you're going to have the paint on top of it because the branches are obscuring the trunks. See, that one went up, came down, and this one came out, and we went up a little. This guy kind of has the ground one going, or the lower one. Nice. Oh, my pen just did a little blork. So that's a good start for my framework. And I'm intentionally being sketchy here because it adds texture. Not very much branchiness showing up here. Just a little. See, if you add a few of those branches, it helps to show the openness. Okay. And then that really cool cone. Ooh. It only produces the cones when it's about 40 years old. So this has to be a older tree before they can start having their cones. It would be super tempting to try to draw every single scale on this cone, but boy, I certainly don't have time to. Feel free to if you want to go crazy on your own, but I'm just going to have to do like a real sketchy gestures here. Oops, sorry, I was covering that up. Be sure to remind me if I end up obscuring what I'm drawing. So notice how they overlap. And so that's gotten me the essence of this beautiful cone without going into huge detail. And so we'll want to show some of the needles here. Beautiful plant, isn't it? Just a gorgeous tree. Okay, so we want to say, again, let's get our height in here. Oh, I forgot to leave the spot for it. We'll put it here. This one was tall, wasn't it? Yep, about 40 meters. Hopefully that'll dry before I drop in the the watercolor. So cones at around 40 years old. And need to keep up with more of my just little factoids here. I need to add some for the Lebanon cedar too. This is a highly culturally significant. All right, so now we can get in some things here. Looks like I have more room there if I wanted to add more. Oh yeah, so that's that great word, podial trunk. Wow, I squeezed a lot in there. So again, we're going to go in and get this shape. There we go. Lights and darks. I want some lighter greens to pop out there. Don't want it to be super bright though. It's in the sunlight, but it's not super bright green leaves or scale needles. So I'm going to do some of them light. And then we'll do some a little darker. And try not to color over your trunk bits. So my little pen marks were helping me with kind of a roadmap. See how I'm laying the brush on its side to try to do a little bit more of the dry brush. I'm going to stop there and darken that up. Hoping I won't fill in too much. So the idea is you want, a range of tones. It looks really dark in the camera, but it's going to dry a little lighter. I'm trying to leave the lighter bits on the top because that's where the sun's hitting. And I can go back and add a little more too. A little more light if I accidentally fill in too much. Trying to drag my brush. Give that texture. How are we doing? Ooh, I'm taking too much time because this is so fun. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. Softening up some of the edges. I just got a really wet, smushy brush to sort of break up some of those edges. Okay, stop, because I don't want to fill it in. And then with our cone, I'm going to give it just a light burnt sienna wash to start it out. And I can go in later and we'll enhance those darks, right?
Excuse me, Roseanne,
Yeah.
what's the size of the cone?
Oh, good question. Let me make sure if I got that in there.
Thank you.
Does it say? Did we say? Or we'll have to look it up. No, I got all distracted by the history and forgot to write how big the cones were. Judging by the needles and size, I'm guessing like your standard, I don't want to say standard, but like a pine cone. So we'll have to look it up. I'm not sure. I definitely got distracted by the cool history of this one. So you can see where I'll go back in. And I'll need to pull out the branches and things there, but should move on. While I've got some green in my paint palette, I'll give our needles a little green. But I think we're capturing the essence pretty good. We'll go in with some darks and probably do a little more pen work on here to enhance that beautiful foliage. But we will move on now to
Hello.
next one.
I
Yes.
looked up the pine cone,
Yay,
3 to
what
4
is it?
inches. 3 to 4 inches.
Ooh, it's big. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm writing that down, everybody. 3 to 4. Thank you. 3 to 4 inch cones. Perfect.
And Roseanne, to add to that, I found a little more information about the cones. There are pollen-bearing cones that are shorter and seed cones that are larger, but they fit into that range that you just were given.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you. It's hard to fit all of our wonderful facts in. Thank you. Excellent. Oh my gosh, we're only on number 4 and it's I'm running. I'm gonna have to speed up. This is a really cool plant. See, this is where I just go down these rabbit holes. So we're looking at some of the really intense deserts of the world here. This tree is an intense survivor and a pretty widespread in Central Asia, Southwest and Central Asia, from Egypt all the way to Mongolia and China in the deserts. It's called Soxol or Al-Gada, I think, if I'm saying that right. It's a halaxylon, and it is in the amaranth family, Amaranthaceae. And they're not huge because they are in some of the harshest climates in the world. So up to 8 meters, though, 26 feet. Its leaves are scales. We talked about that. We'll look at those a little more closely, a lot like the ephedra plant in the American Southwest. And some 2 great words I learned. I love this. So plants that are in sandy habitats are called samophytes. And this was a new one to me. It is called an extremophile. So super cool and very interesting, very important for birds in the region, and especially associated with the nesting of the Soxhall sparrow. So let's sketch this gorgeous, gorgeous plant. Very cool. So you can see that that's popping out there. I have too many rocks on my desk. Excuse me while I move some rocks. Oh my. Okay. Who else has all sorts of rocks and bits and leaves and feathers and things all over your desk?
I do.
I do.
I
Oh, yes.
Great.
Acorns
do.
and feathers,
Yep.
tree bark.
Yep. Me too. Right now I have a dead gecko. I have to draw it, but I haven't gotten around to it. So
And insects, little cups of
Yes.
dead insects.
we should I should have a program on draw what's on your desk, and we all start drawing little things and then share all the strange things that we collect.
And
Okay.
bones, don't forget the bones.
Wow, I don't. Yeah, I have a lynx claw. Okay, let's see. Beautiful detail. I'm going to get lost in the detail here of this. So again, marking my about how wide I want to go there. Oh, is that too wide? I'll come up here. I'm just estimating. Nope, see, that's too big. I need to not go too deep here. Otherwise I can't fit it in my space. So, you know, if I go as far up as here and as far out as here, I'm just making little chicken marks here, then yeah, I definitely want to keep this. Oh, but it's so beautiful. You know, you might want to, if you have time, you might want to zoom in and do more detailed sketches on this gorgeous root system. If we just capture enough of it, you can share the essence of it without getting too lost in trying to do detail where we don't have space for it. And so that's a real, you just do your best to, so I should stop soon trying to do so much detail, even though that's what I love. And then now I'm just going to have to approximate, right? But I'm going to do a bunch of really light V's because that's what my eyes seeing. I can't draw everything here, but I think if I keep my pen marks loose, And the rest I'll add some color, but a little bit of shapes in here. Oh, it's going to be hard. It's not all straight lines. You see how hard it is to just sort of get the essence of these, but I think if we stop soon, I can use color to really enhance that. And did I get an exact representation of, this trunk? No, but I'm sharing the beautiful twists and everything. Then we can zoom in on these really cool scale like leaves. Do maybe just one and really kind of zoom. I'm really zooming in here because these are sections. Little growth tip there. Oh, I was obscuring. I'm sorry. So try not to do that. And these little, see, every leaf has, or no, little selection of, has this little, see the little ears, I think. A few of them have little ears. Looks like they may be wanting to have leaves at some point or something. So we don't have the exact size on these, but this is at least times 5x. So I've blown this up quite a bit. So these are leaves are reduced. To scales. Arrow went a little wonky. And it is, don't forget our height. It's about 8 meters. And highly desert adapted. Because it is called, well, let's remember it is sand adapted. Equals and this is a great word, PSAMMO and then PHYT. Gonna have to split it. And then it is, remember that one, the extremophile? So we can definitely get in here with some bright. Uh-oh, I just made my nice clean yellow dirty. Let me clean it up. Okay. So first do a wash of the really light green. And remember to leave some, white, if you can, a little bit just to show the shininess. And then we can go in with the dark green to shade, to show the shape. See how that makes it suddenly look like it's round and not flat. And I need to throw some color in our, see, it's mostly just got really pale going on, not very much color. I'm going to dry off my brush and try doing just what as much dry technique as I can. Oh, that's hardly too dry. That's not even, okay, come on, just a little bit more. There we go. Looks like it's got the green just really around the edges of the plant. And then we'll want to come in and put some browns as we can. Ooh, that's a hard one. This is a hard one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move on, but what I've done is a kind of a ruddy reddish brown here. And I can enhance some of these. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now because I'll need to come back after that dries and we can add some darks, use some more pen work, and really make that one pop. Before I leave, I'll try to get a little sandy soil. All right. Who's next? I loved this one. I thought this was really cool. All right, where are we going next? Who's next? Some water. We are heading into the depths of Iran. This is so fun. Look at this gorgeous plant in the desert. What is it? It is the Persian ironwood. So it's native to the Caspian region in Azerbaijan, and it is sadly critically endangered just due to harvesting and just clearing for fields and things and agriculture grazing. So it's up to 30 meters tall, very broad, up to 15 meters wide. So the leaves are ovoid and alternate, and they turn these incredible colors in the fall, purples. And I've never seen purples like this on a tree. And it does have to do with the fact that it's also drought stressed, but beautiful colors. And then look at the beautiful flowers. So we'll capture the shape of this tree and then the colors of the leaves. And if we have time, we can sketch in the beautiful blossoms. But I'm like super drawn to the color of those leaves, aren't you? Really beautiful. So Paradia persica.
Roseanne, are
Yeah.
the colors of the leaves determined by the soils?
No, this is fall, so the chlorophyll stopped, so it's as things are changing. But because it's so drought stressed, and we see this here in the American Southwest, when it gets very droughty, there's a Santa Rita prickly pear cactus that also turns purple. So it has to do more with as changes than the soil, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
they're gorgeous. Thank you.
isn't it beautiful? I had to look at multiple photos to make sure this one wasn't like Photoshop enhanced. And yeah, it's definitely a beautiful, bright colors. So let me make this a little bigger so we can get the shape first. I'll probably leave room for that one of the flowers, but probably don't have time or space to do much. Mostly I want to get that really cool. Those purple colors, isn't that fun? We'll just maybe do one leaf and capture the purple colors instead of trying to do a whole field of leaves, because that would be very difficult. So for the shape, we're going to do let's start over here. I'm going to bring the trunk up, and we're going to have these trunks branch from the base, kind of whirl around. So I've got my basic trunk shape, and then let's just capture some leaf shapes, or the canopy shape. This is a pretty wild one, so looks like it's been maybe grazed even a little bit. See how the canopy ends at a certain point. I'm suspecting it looks like this one is in a grove anyway, might even be an ornamental. But this is just to mark the shapes that I want to capture. That's a quick way to do that. Let's go in, give it a place where it's growing, and you want to just try to capture these the way it sort of twisted and grew multiple branches from the base. Not seeing a lot of branches through the canopy, so I'm going to leave that. Okay, and then let's just do a marker. Oh, real quick, I'm just doing some individual leaf shapes just to remind me. These have big, broad leaves. So when I do my watercolor, I don't want to blurt it out too much. That's just to remind me. But the leaves are, so there's a good shape of the leaf, and they all seem to be a bit different. So what I'm going to have fun with is I'm going to just capture one leaf, and it looks like they have like semi-wavy margins. This one is sort of I just basically made up a leaf here using an amalgam of the ones that were on there, just so I can have fun. And it does look like the veins are sort of alternating. Use your veins to help describe the shape of the leaf. That helps. And then we can have fun with the color on that. Let's not get too distracted yet. I still need to add some details. Yeah, and I probably want to add that flower, but at this point, I think I might not have time. But you guys could. Fun flower, isn't it? So our Persian ironwood here is about 30 meters tall. And it is critically endangered. Okay, let's have fun with that. Beautiful blooms. The blooms remind me, gosh, of what do they remind me of the way our agave blooms happen with these kind of egg shape that open up like that and then have these stamens all coming out. Interesting. But I'm going to focus on those colors just because that's what I want to do. First, I will throw some green, light green. Just that nice, bright green. Obviously, this is not fall. And then you'll need to add the darks. You can see the darks to flesh out the tree, give it depth. But right now I'm focusing on just getting those bright heights where the sun's really hitting that. Leave that for now. Now, we'll get our dirt color and everything later, but the beautiful purpley yellows, let's see what we can do. This is going to be fun. Ooh, clean my palette. This is where you're just like all in, you just got to go for it. So I'm going to use magenta and yellow, and I'm not going to worry about the veins right now. So I'm just wetting the leaf here. Let's see how this goes. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to drop in some yellow. And as my yellow goes, my magenta goes in, it's going to blend a little bit and create orange, which is good. Really want to get that bright magenta too. So I'm going to reserve. I'm going to let that dry and then brighten that up with purples as well, which I can do with my, I want a bright purple. It's going to darken. Totally going to get into the weeds on this one. What I want to do is let that dry now and put the brighter, darker purple on top. Otherwise, I'm going to make mud, which I just started to make mud down at the bottom. And that'll make a prettier dark purple, but I have to wait for that yellow to dry. And see, reserving that, I'm going to get a lot more bright color if I let that sit for a bit, and then I'll come back and enhance it. Oh, it's so tempting to just keep on, but that's how you end up with mud. So let's let this darken and dry, sorry, and I might even pull some of that off. There you go. And we can come back and let that purple pop. So I'm going to let this dry. That's really hard because I really want to do it. That's a fun one, but I really need to move on. And so we have 3 more trees we want to do. And there's some cool ones. And remember, we'll come back here. What happens when you, just as a reminder, just demonstrate when I start adding the darks is when you'll get the depth in that tree, like so. So we'll come back, you know, this dark hole in the middle. And it'll take a few passes, right? So let's let that one dry while we look at the next. Okay, fun. This is fun. Okay. I hope some of you will draw that flower too. So now we're going way up to Kazakhstan. Another really interesting plant. Whoa, this one's, I just went down a major rabbit hole of research on this one because I couldn't find a lot on it. It's listed as near threatened, and it's under, even probably at this point, this was about 5 years old, the data I found from the IUCN, it's probably now more close to endangered. It is a poplar called the turanga. And it's also really closely associated with the native Kazakhs who consider it a sacred tree. And this one village, Zuld Torangi, in their language, in the Kazakh language, means the Turanga calling the wind. And it's a really important plant because it is a desert riparian species, meaning it's in the wadis and the washes. And then it creates windbreaks where people can have habitation, grow crops, even in these intense cold deserts. Really, really interesting, beautiful leaves. I just love this plant. So let's sketch a turanga. There we go. See, our colors are, see, it's looking better. And better since I didn't mess with it. Okay. Really hard, isn't it? Watercolor is hard. If you bug it too much, it just turns to mud. Okay. Let's draw. Oops. This beautiful shape of the poplar. So poplar, like our cottonwood. Look at this essence of this tree shape here. It's beautiful. And then there's, I'm wanting to get this. It's like a hand coming up, and then there's another branch. Beautiful. Again, you wanted the essence of these poplars is this sinuous, beautiful shape. So this one branched, and then another one comes up. And it looks like the lower parts often die back. And so our leaf shape, we want to, it's kind of like we want to reserve. It's kind of like a heart inverted, like a without a top. It's like a triangle with a rounded. And I'm just kind of sketching those shapes, so I remember to reserve them when I'm doing my watercolor. And that's it. This plant has a lot of dead wood, and I suspect that's fairly normal for these intensely cold, dry areas.
Do you think, excuse me, do you think animals forage on it or?
Probably at the, like goats would definitely keep it trimmed back. That's probably why it's more endangered than it should be. They get a lot of browse pressure, I imagine, when they're young. Once they're at this size, I think they would be more likely to survive storms and droughts and things, but when they're little, I imagine if there's too many goats in the region, then your recruitment is going to be really low. And since these are herders, they definitely have too many goats. It's something we see worldwide in communities with herders, is they have too many grazing animals. Okay, and then beautiful leaves. I'm just going to do a single one. Heart shaped. I had a hard time finding a lot of information on this species. It was interesting.
Roseanne, excuse me,
Yeah.
another question. Have you visited many of these trees on vacation?
You know, Asia is, I have not been to Asia proper, no. So I have not met a lot of them. Met any of them. But you know,
I'd
Jean
save
is-
up my dimes and get on with it then.
I know. That's definitely, I'd love to, if we get over there, I want to like ship our vehicle over and stay for a long time and see the steppes of Central Asia, you know, the stands, they call them now, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and see Mongolia and really spend some time there. So this is right now, the IUCN still has it listed as near threatened. And I liked so it is a desert riparian species. Riparian meaning it is along water courses, and in this case, they're ephemeral water courses. And I like it's sacred to the Kazakh people.
It's interesting that the leaves are so flat. So there must be a really low dew point. It's because
Yeah, and they appear waxy, don't they? So I imagine they have a protective I don't want to say coating, but probably they are very, very slick, so the stomates aren't exposed to, stomata are not exposed to exposing all of its moisture out. So it's almost like a eucalypt.
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, so like to get the color on this, I'm just gonna wet it and try dropping in just the tiniest, barest pale blue and let that dry. And then I would probably wash it with just teeny, oh, look at it, didn't my ink wasn't dry. Haha. Well, we'll just consider that part of the design. Let's see if I can lift any of, yeah, I can lift it off. Tiny bit of yellow over it after it's dried to give it that bluey green look. And so for I think the flash on this photo made these paler than they probably are, because the other ones look much darker green than this. So we'll take that with a grain of salt. But I am going to create a green that's a little bluier green. I also want to double check, and this is something, when we're doing internet tours of plants, is it was, like I said, this species was very hard to find good information on. This was from the IUCN report, but I want to make sure, like, is that actually the proper leaf for this plant? It didn't seem like it, but it was the only thing I could find. But I'll definitely confirm that, that it's a very obscure plant in a part of the world where very few people visit and very few people actually live up there. Pretty sparse. There's no vegetation, no green left below this upper canopy on this one. Still pretty wet. I'm going to stop. It's a little too wet to keep working on it on that. See how I'm brushing just a tiny bit of green wash over it. And it appears to have a pretty, couldn't find anything about describing the bark, but it appears to have shaggy bark. I'll just come back on that one and create a little, I'm going to create a little grass color with pure yellow, and then I dirty it with burnt sienna, a little more yellow. Because if you put pure yellow down here for the grass, it just looks horrible. You don't want that. Grass isn't bright yellow. But this is definitely in the steps, so we want to show that it's in a grassy spot.
Did a quick search on the leaves of the Populus prenosa, and they look more than one show that, but there's a huge variety
Isn't it?
in
So-
terms of jagged edges and heart shaped. And I mean, they're not, there's a lot that look exactly like what you've shown, but there are others as well. So it's kind of interesting to.
I know, and I think we need to do more research. So definitely interesting how these obscure plants, you can get incorrect information. So see,
Yeah,
this is
that's
looking a
true.
lot better now.
I often go to iNaturalist. They,
Did
if
I
you're,
did not go to iNaturalist for this one because it is so obscure, but I should have. Anyone have
just
it on their phone? Anyone have it on their phone? Look it up. It's a good point. I think, what do we have? We have two more. I think I can do it. Now we're going to Pakistan, and we're going to eke up to the foothills of the Himalaya here and start seeing some of our high elevation species, but we'll cover them in the next section pretty much. So so this is the Himalayan yew, though, really beautiful tree with these, and it's a taxus. Oops, go back. Strange, I just got a strange pop-up window. Hopefully you're not seeing this pop-up window. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
We can hear you and no pop.
Okay, yeah, I
No
got
pop.
okay, go, no pop-up window. I just
Nope.
got a pop-up window that says you are using enhanced encryption. Like, okay, I'm not sure why, but okay. So the Himalayan yew, it is taxus, the same genus as the European yew. It is a conifer and an evergreen and native to parts of Southeast Asia and the Himalaya. 10 meters tall, it's not huge. It is dioecious and interesting cone. I like that cone, which is a highly modified berry-like. It's a single scale developing into it's called an aril, about a centimeter in diameter, that's bright red. And it is endangered, sadly, from over harvesting, partly for wood, but also it is traditional medicine in the Ayurveda and Tibetan traditions. And so I think it gets over harvested because, of course, that's become popular in Western culture and we overdo it. So let's draw this one. I think this one will be a little simpler.
Any thoughts on the dark brown? What looks like a parasite growing on the top of
Yeah,
that?
I think this might just be a really, really old tree with a lot of dead in the middle. I had a hard time finding good photos of just one because they are so endangered. I found a lot of ornamental ones, but I kind of wanted a wild one because the ornamental ones were all pruned. So they don't really show the structure, but yeah, good
Rather curious.
plotting on that. The caption didn't say anything about it having a parasite, so we'll hope not. I would sketch this one by approximating a kind of a sinuous trunk. I should have made that a tiny bit lighter. And I want to that a single trunk's going to be going up like this, and then we're going to have clusters of our needle branches and things. Pretty open. You're right, this tree looks like it was potentially damaged at one point, and it's just not doing all that great. Hence, they are endangered. And we want to show a little bit of that trunk. Looks like it branched a little bit in here. That's why I'm sort of estimating And those are just markers. So when I go into color, I can remember what I need to do there. And then we want to zoom in on our cool aerial, the kind of seed cone. So it's not a super tall tree. We want to remember it's only about 10 meters. Took me forever in England recently to actually find a wild yew that was kind of fun. Leaves are almost identical. So we'll do put these guys on here. I'm just gonna do the shape just for now. And then I'll come back and get more of the details, but we can go ahead and also do our kind of leaves at the same time. And they're all curved and all appear to be sort of pointing. Well, on mine, it's to the left. And they appear like, are they opposite and slightly curved back in to the central. Kind of the photo makes it look a little more jumbly. And if you want, you can just start doing more ghost sketches. There's appears to be more than, yeah, they're not flat around the axis, so I shouldn't have sketched that. And there's more in there than it's showing, so I don't want it to show quite so flat. And now let's get this structure here. Really cool, like cup shape. Okay. Now this is endangered. This paper does not as easy to write on as my other paper. It's much more nubbly. And so the cone is highly modified. Berry-like. Scale. Interesting. It's about 1 centimeter. Okay, and we can also add the note about traditional medicine as well. We're running out of time though, so we want to get splash some color in here. I'm not going to even, you can't approximate needles on something this tiny of a drawing. I just want to get the shape. And starting with the lighter colors, and then we go in and we have our darker colors.
Europeans are used in Western medicine.
Is it?
Yeah, this is where Paxil comes from. It's a anti-cancer
Right.
drug.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they're actually farmed,
Aha.
which is good.
That's much better, isn't it?
Yeah, and they look very similar.
I wonder if it's the same. I mean,
It's got the same areola and everything. It looks just like it, almost.
probably is.
Yeah, very similar.
So I can go in and I'm only going to put like a single dark stripe for each needle, because I want to come back and kind of with a lighter green and to show kind of how shiny and hard they are. Maybe I'll make the ones in the background even darker. And I'm going to throw a very light wash of the red, and then I'm going to move on. And I want to keep that as light as possible, so we can enhance that the way it looks almost translucent. And what I'll do, this is going to be, I'm even going to leave white. And what we'll do is come back and I'm going to enhance the red with as I go. But in the meantime, I really want to try to reserve some white so it shows the shape. And it looks really pink now, but we will enhance the red with some yellows. But I have 7 minutes to do the last one. And last one's kind of fun, great colors. And the last one, we're going to take a left turn and go back down to the coast. Or not a left turn, kind of just a go straight back down, because we want to cover one of the most well-known tropical Asian plants. Ta-da! One of another favorite plant that we love to eat, the mango, which is native to the Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent. And this one is called the Indian type. So there are now 500 varieties of Mangifera indica. And of course, because it's just such a wonderful fruit. So the fruit is called a drupe. It's a fleshy drupe. And the okay, here's your factoid of the day that's super fun. The paint Indian yellow, if you've ever heard of it, was originally manufactured by feeding cattle just mango leaves and water, which was incredibly cruel because they didn't get enough nutrients out of that. And it highly concentrated their urine into this yellow color, which was harvested. It was dried. The urine was concentrated, dried into cakes, and then sold as colorant. So in paints, in all sorts of things. So that practice was stopped, and now Indian yellow is not manufactured that way. And the wood has been used for also lots of different things. So fun shape. Let's get this guy down, and then we got some fun colors to play with. We'll do a fruit on the tree and maybe a leaf and then maybe a fruit that's open, and we can have that wonderful color. So I'm going to do just like a super fast, because I'm like got such a short amount of time, but this is kind of typical of a mango tree. You've seen them. I have met mango trees in East Africa with these bunches of leaves, and then a single beautiful trunk.
Roseanne, could you push up your?
Oh,
Thank you.
So we want to keep our like shapes of, I'm just being like super messy here. I really should have had a little bit higher. It's slightly open at the top, so we'll remind us there. Big, beautiful trunk. I imagine most of them are in cultivated now. Not seeing a lot of branches. There's one there, kind of one there. Okay, and we'll just do some nice, a big blob of, it'll be an easy one to do. And then we can do our mango leaf is fun. We can kind of put it back behind. That's kind of a fun design. Big, strong vein. Now, what I would do is grab some waxed paper and just use a pencil and scribe some wax paper over that. Whoa, I just had an overflight of probably an F-16, sorry. They're doing something today. I don't know if you guys could hear that. It's pretty intense. And then we'll have our, and so you put the wax resist on there, and then when I paint the green over it, it will show that strong white vein, or it's probably a light green vein. And so we've got two color things going. We've got our fruit. On the tree. And then we've got, this is kind of fun to do. You can show the cut open fruit. And label it, which is kind of fun. So we have our mesocarp, or the pulp. I like, oops, sorry, right over, sorry, pulp. And then the exocarp is the peel. And the endocarp, the seed. So fun. And it's a tall tree, so it's our 30 meters. And I think that's going to be fun. It'll capture kind of the essence of mango, right? So what is this going to look like? We can have fun. Oh, I should have, while that pink was on there, the magenta, let's make some really pretty orange. And we can, let's see. Want to do, and You see my pen just ran. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna stop because I'm ruining that. Oh, no. I used the ink kind of blorked out. So it left a big blork of ink. You see how I dropped the yellow in the middle to sort of
Excuse me
bleed
again.
out. Yeah,
Are the leaves in pairs?
good question. I would need to
It
look it up.
looks,
They
it
appear to be
looks like
all
that from. Good.
hard to say. Let me see. Aha. They appear to be paired and alternate.
Okay.
Good spotting. So in this one, this is going to have a dark core because of the ink. Oh, well. I will let that go and then enhance that and do my little pink wash on these guys so I can come back and see how it graded to green. That would be kind of fun to add in there. There, so that's fun. Oops, it's kind of shiny now, but you can see that's going to approximate that. And then with it's a very dark green leaves. That's a flash. The one that's got the fruit, that's a flash. So I don't think they're that bright. They're more like a rich green. So what I want to do is just kind of get this shape. And then let that dry and come back.
Roseanne, have you shared whether these are endangered or not?
Oh, no, they're not. Super common.
That's what I thought, but.
Yeah, thanks for checking on that. So I'm going to leave these, this background shape, and then I'll come back and make that darker. And then with this one, I'm going to go ahead and this is kind of fun. So I can paint the vein yellow, let it dry, put some wax over it. And then when I paint the green, it's going to reserve that. Okay, so I'm going to have to let that dry. And then I can come back and enhance the orange and those. But I think we've reached our 2-hour mark. It was kind of fun. There's a lot of interesting species in Asia. We're going to have a lot of fun continuing through. I'm liking how that's dried. I'll be able to make that one pause. So everybody's, we'll come back and I'll go back and finish these up. But I think I'm happy with them. This one was really hard. I'll have to study that one and the Soxal. So I hope everyone will share what you did. It's always fun to see what you guys do, and I'll put it on the website. This is recorded, and I will have that done later today or tomorrow morning and send you out, because that way it will you will be able to really work on these. Oh, I know it's really hard. It goes fast. The whole point is to go fast. Pushes me because I tend to want to just get into all the details, and it's really fun to just say, okay, no, we got to go fast, get the essence of the tree. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is free, so if you're inclined to do a little tip jar, that's lovely. And I will put my finished accordion page up. Let me switch to gallery view and turn off spotlight so we can say goodbye. There. So I hope everyone had fun.
Been a really great exercise for me, like the speediness of it, I think is for me, that's one of the reasons why I love attending this, because it makes me simplify. You start big, you work down into the details as far as you can go. Like, it's just a really wonderful exercise for me, and not to mention that I get to learn a whole lot of good
Isn't
stuff.
that fun? So yeah, everybody's holding up theirs. That's really fun. Send them to me, take pictures when you're finished, and we'll put them up. Love it, love it. And yeah, it's fun. You can see how I tend, like, I have to stop myself from going down, like wanting to draw every single thing or detail. And it's really fun to learn how to see shapes and just capture that. And fun tips. Wow, you guys are getting really good and fast. Look at that. Be sure to send me the examples so I can put them on the website. So it's exploringoverland.com. The field arts tutorials is where these show up. So I'll send out the link and everything. So enjoy, and be sure to send. I hope everybody had as much fun as I do putting these together. And we have three more. So let's see what, right? No, yeah, this is the 5th. So there's 3 more because is that right? Or is there going to be 4 more? No, it's going to be 5 more. Yep. Because it's 80 trees and it's 8. Yeah. So we're only halfway through, guys. This is awesome. And then when we're all done, we all should have put all of ours together and have like a yearbook of the 80 trees. I think would be really fun.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's been really, I've learned so much. So, all right. I hope everyone has a good rest of the weekend, and I'll have this recording up for you in a bit. So take care, everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
Suzanne.
Thanks,
Thank
Roseanne.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne Marie, for your help.